What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Central Virginia Sport Performance Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jay DeMayo, and I am really excited to get to sit down and talk with Florida Atlantic's strength and conditioning coach with women's basketball, women's soccer, and beach volleyball, Lily Griffith. Lily,
Be here.
it's always awesome to have somebody who can give me good stories about Cam Davidson on the podcast. I can't tell you how happy I am to be able to sit down here with you this morning.
Yeah. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Jay.
Yeah, so real quick, let's give everybody the little how'd you get down there to winning in paradise, which is one of the greatest catchphrases in college basketball, in my opinion. I think it really started when McCormick was there like 10 years ago. But yeah, so what brought you down to Florida? I mean, obviously, other than the great weather. And how did you get there?
Yeah. So I actually grew up in Florida. First 18 years of my life were in Fort Myers. So when I got the call about this job, it was kind of like, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but a no-brainer. You don't really say no when someone calls you and asks if you want to interview for a job in Boca Raton, Florida. So of course I started my career at University of Alabama. I started as an intern there, and got to build connections and learn under quite literally the best of the best. And that's kind of how I fell in love with it. Just really taking my passion for strength training and turning it into strength and conditioning and working with athletic performance under the best. And from there, I had a little bit of family out in Colorado. So I was kind of looking in the area over there, right post grad, just didn't really know where I wanted to be, but Colorado was kind of calling me. And I got a call from Cam Davidson, of course, at Colorado College. And it's funny because he'll probably say the same thing. But after the first phone call, like, I literally remember texting my friends, like, this is my job. Like, I just found it after the first phone call. Like, Cam just completely sold his culture and the way that he runs his team and, what his goals were there. And right post grad, I couldn't think of someone better to continue learning from while still being able to get some experience on my own without, being guided. So that was a fantastic decision. It was really, really fun over at Colorado College. And then, yeah, like I said, my mom and dad are still in Fort Myers, Florida. So coming back to home, I live less than a mile from the beach here. So quite literally paradise. It's, we're having our first cold front here and it's like 50, 60 degrees. But it's been really, really fun. I've been here for about 4 months now at Florida Atlantic, and it's been a good time. So
that's awesome. 50 degrees is the low, and that's high up here today.
Everyone's in hoodies and jackets at campus today.
Oh, I'm sure. Because, 50 there is like the 20 that it is here right now, and people don't know what to do with it.
Right. Yeah. No, they have no idea.
But now at FAU, working in women's basketball, working with women's soccer, and then working with beach volleyball, three really unique different avenues to take. So let's just kind of start out there. Like, what is that day-to-day like? What is that preparation-wise look like? Because as a college soccer player, and a guy that now works in men's basketball, there are some plug and plays, but there are some no ways as well. So where do you see these things working together? And then let's kind of run off of that.
Yeah. So my schedule is very full, but in the absolute best way. Like, I'm very fortunate that I get to wake up excited every morning to come into work. And, most people don't get to say that. So, I will never take that for granted. But yeah, very, very busy. It works out. It is a little bit of a weird combination of sports. I feel like you don't see these three put together very often. But I've been enjoying it quite a bit. Not only is it, I have a fall sport soccer, a winter sport basketball, and a spring sport beach volleyball. So that kind of works out well. Like, I'm not in season really overlapping except for, a few weeks out of the year for each of my sports. So I can really like put all my energy and effort into the one sport that's in season and make sure that that's a priority for me while still being able to work with my other sports. And then programming wise, like they do not look similar at all. Like it's, not that I'm trying to get into any sort of specificity if that's like for the sport. Like I think that you shouldn't, sport specific training is a very, sensitive word to say, but the athlete needs are so different, and it's not like it's basketball and volleyball are two court sports, because my girls are playing in the sand, so they'll have a little bit of different needs. And then of course you add the field sport on to that, on top of that. So it's all very unique, and I think I'm challenged quite a bit programming wise, and I never just get to be, oh, this will work for this team too, like let's just translate that. I have three very different programs with three very different sports running at any one time, and it's very exciting and engaging. And there's never a day in the office where I get to just turn my brain off and coast. It's really exciting and really fun. So I've quite enjoyed the combination of the three of them. um, I've never worked at a school that had beach volleyball before, and the girls here have been absolutely attacking the weight room. Really, really good team culture, really good energy. So that's been a fun little addition to my experience that with a sport that I had never worked with before.
And along the way, from really kind of starting at Alabama, you've been really dipping your toe into the waters of the athlete tracking and monitoring world when it comes to different metrics. Where do you see those impacting these three sports in their own unique way?
Do you mean like with velocity or with like GPS data? What do you mean with tracking?
Let's start with velocity, and then we'll go to GPS data. Let's run around this a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So of course at Alabama, it's the highest of the high level of equipment that you can have. They have the elite form velocity based training trackers that it's just a camera that shines down on the bar path and gives you a nice big number right in front of your face. So that, I don't want to say it almost makes your job easier programming certain weights, but you pretty much can just say, hey, move the bar at zero point 0.7. And then the athlete doesn't have to do any extra, oh, that felt like a 6 out of 10 effort. You know what I mean? So that was, I was really, really fortunate to learn how to program with that. That being said, when that's taken away, you kind of have to step up and learn as a coach a little bit more. You have to have the coaches I developed, um, because if you don't have velocity on the bar and you can't have that specific number being spit out at you after every single rep, like you have to be able to make adjustments on the fly yourself and say to a certain athlete, hey, that moved a little too slow, like let's take a 5 off, whatever it is. So we were fortunate at Colorado College. We had the Tindo units with the string. So we still had velocity there. It just wasn't as easily accessible. It wasn't just a camera. And then here at Florida Atlantic, we don't have any velocity based training. So it really is like helping me develop as a coach. And I think if you can coach with fewer resources, you can coach with more resources. So I've been really fortunate to be able to work with, both, and be able to learn how to work those intricate systems and be able to, use the really, really cool high tech stuff. But I've also been learning and developing how to just do it on my own. And if you can work with a little, you can work with anything. So it's been cool to be able to see both sides of that.
So for the people here that may not have access to, I mean, a gym aware or a Tendo or whatever it may be, what are some things that you're looking for now that you've been able to, I don't know, I guess carry over from your times being able to have the bar tethered or the camera on it?
Yeah. I think that you need to be engaged as much as you can with every single athlete at any point in time. And you're not always going to be able to get them in a smaller group, but that has really, really helped me. There's going to be a lot of times where, you have a big team lift, the music is blasting, and you can't be one on one with every single one to be able to be as specific and as picky about what you see on each bar. But if you can, I would highly recommend getting your athletes into the smaller groups, because that one-on-one or one-on-three, however small you can get them, that's going to help them, and it's going to help you really, really dial in, to make sure that you are giving them the best service that you can. And that's not me saying that a big team lift is bad at all. Like, I think that when you can get smaller groups, I at any point would take that. I would take 5 small groups over 1 big group any day. And yes, that means your day is going to be a little bit fuller. But if you can get that 1% better outcome, and you can be that 1% more dialed in and more focused and give 100% to the athlete that you're watching, and you'll never have your back turned on a rack. You'll never have someone, like, if you say you're working at 85% today, you'll never have someone accidentally put, the wrong weight on the bar, accidentally fail. So I think being as personalized with your time as you can with your athletes, that's been a huge game changer for me here.
Got it. So then now let's pivot back. You were talking a little bit, hinted a little bit at the GPS aspect of it. Where do you see that fitting in those three?
Yeah, so I use Connexon GPS data with women's basketball. We use it every single practice, every single scrimmage, and of course we've just started playing, so we've used it at our games. It's been really, really helpful in so many aspects. There's, of course, the return to play aspect that is really, really game changing with that. We have 2 girls that were injured last season that are currently on the path to be, back playing. So with the GPS data, what I do with my return to play girls is I'm always on the sideline during practice. So someone coming back from a knee injury, and she just got cleared for contact play. So what I want to do is make sure that I'm monitoring the number of jumps and impacts that she's doing, the number of accelerations and decelerations that she's doing, to make sure that I know specifically we're not overdoing it. And then, I have her data in front of me after each practice. And I'll go to her the next day and say, hey, like, how did you feel after this practice? What are your thoughts? Any pain, this and that? If she says no, then, that's how I set my threshold for when to cut her off. So we push and we go, and then we set goals for her to reach. And then when she reaches those goals at practice, we know that's a safe zone for her to be in, for the number of decels and the number of jumps that we want her to have, as she's just kind of getting her feet back under her after a few months off the court. And that's been really, really helpful for us to get her back on the right track to be able to play this season for us. And then outside of the return to play, just planning practices and making sure we're providing the girls with the right outcome and the right practice plan each day. So, at the beginning of the week, we can say, like, hey, we have this day we want to go a little bit higher because we're 3 days out from a game day. So we can do a little bit higher volume. And then in the weight room, that can be our highest volume, maybe like our strength day. So I try to match what I see on the court with the Connexon. Then we go to lift after practice and make sure that I'm matching what we're doing on the court. So if it's our highest volume day on the court, they're getting the most up and down. That's going to be the highest volume day from me. Furthest day out from game day. And then moving forward, like if we want a little bit higher intensity, maybe we're going to go 3-on-3, maybe we're going to go half court, keep it shorter, faster. That'll be that same thing for me in the weight room. So monitoring volume and intensity on the court is just as important as monitoring volume and intensity for me in the weight room. And make sure that I'm matching the coach's stimulus. Whatever she's providing, I also should be providing. So that way we are not only maximizing the performance aspect and getting the training effect that we're wanting, and not just throwing the house at them and praying that it works and they get better at basketball and they become better movers or become stronger. We're making sure that we're actually dialing in on what we're training and why we're training it, and what drills we're picking, what I'm programming on my end. So it has been really, really helpful in both those two aspects to get our girls back on the court who were injured last year, and B, making sure that we're providing the right thing, and we know why we're providing it, and making sure that they're recovering the right amount by matching kind of what head coach and what I'm doing.
How much leeway is there with those metrics in your return to play? Like, is there a hard stop, or is it like to get to or exceed? And if they don't get to or exceed, what then is your strategy following that?
So at the very beginning, a few months ago, right when she first got cleared to get on the court in this specific instance, of course it would change with each girl and each scenario. But with this one, yes, it was a hard stop. Like once she got to her X number of decels or X number of jumps for the day, I would go onto the court and say, hey, you need to keep your feet on the ground. So she was not allowed to get up and down. She was not allowed to jump. She could shoot with her feet on the ground, but that was it. So just really, really watching that knee as we're starting to progress and working with the PT and the athletic trainer as well. And as she starts to get cleared for more and more and more, as we're getting closer to her being a full go, that's when there's a little bit of leeway. So the AT and I, the trainer and I are always on the sideline. And like if they're doing a drill that is contact and she looks like she's getting a little uncomfortable, like that's when we need to step in and say, hey, like use our coach's eye, use our, our just not intuition, but use your coach's eye to make sure that you're not just going off of what a computer screen tells you. Like that's not the real case. If she's out there and she looks confident and she's making threes and she's getting down the court and beating other people down the court, like we're not going to go pull her out and say, oh no, you've reached your number of jumps today, you're done. But if she looks like she's struggling a little bit, like she might be feeling a little bit of pain, that's when we can say like, hey, you reached your number of jumps. Let's kind of like dial it back a little bit. So it started a little bit more rigid just as a safety net and just to make sure we were providing her the right rehab and return to play protocol. But now that we're getting a little bit closer to her being fully cleared, like it's kind of more on her. Like she's very honest and upright about it, that when she's uncomfortable, like, and we can recognize that, she will, come to us and say, hey, I think it's time. So started a little bit more rigid, but now it's getting to a point where we can kind of base it on her needs.
Yeah, I think all too often people like to look at these things, these fancy shiny boxes and these little cubes or whatever we tie to people, and they look at them like it's some sort of a deity that's going to be like, when you hit this number, it's just like you're going to get shocked and get thrown to the sideline and like put back in your cave to never move again. But I think that especially in all aspects of return, whether it be to sport or performance or practice or whatever, like teaching them the baseline and then allowing them to kind of feel their way through it, it isn't going to be as much. How do I say this? It's not going to be as much about the knee or the back or the hip as it is about the lump 3 feet above their butt. Because if they don't believe in it and they don't feel it and they don't trust it enough to go the next step, then the metrics don't matter.
Right. I think I always try to give them the why behind it too. Like it's never just like a little piece of plastic that I'm sticking in a garment behind their back. Like whenever anyone wants to see their numbers, they absolutely can. Like I'm always like, please come to my office. Let's look at practice. I don't want to hide anything from them. And it's turned into a fun thing because I like to tell them, oh, so and so was the fastest at practice today. Who can beat her during our warm up? So it's like, everyone's racing down the court trying to beat each other, and they'll come to me after, who ran faster. So turning it into something that they know why they have it. And that's not just the connects on, it's pretty much everything I do. I try to explain why, just so it's not just like a dictatorship. We have to do this because I think that the GPS units can be really, really helpful for us, but it almost kind of adds a little bit of fun and a little bit of buy-in for them. Like, who jumped the highest, who ran the fastest, who, had the most sprints, or whatever it is that they're trying to compete with each other. Like, we're working with athletes. Like, we know they like to compete. So let's give them something to compete with. And then, practice is going to be that much better. Like, if it's just like it's a lower volume day, we're not really doing much, they're kind of zoned out, their eyes are glazed over, they have nothing they really want to be there for, versus saying, all right, she was fastest yesterday, who's going to beat her? Like it gives them that little bit of competition that they can kind of buy into that much more, and it makes it more fun rather than just going to practice for sitting there 2 hours a day with our eyes glazed over.
Yeah, because especially since practice for 2 hours a day seems to have gone from October 15th to March 15th to September 1st to April 1st, plus the summers,
Yep.
plus whatever else. So finding that way to kind of season the food, I guess, to put a little flavor to it has been pretty important, I think.
Yeah, I mean their whole life is basketball. Right now, preseason until you're right, March, it's eat, sleep, breathe, like wake up, it's basketball. So how can we keep the joy for them and keep them excited and engaged and wanting to be there just cuz we want to be there. Like we love it. Like this is, our dream job for me and the rest of the coaching staff. So making sure that they not only are trying hard for us, but we're giving something, like giving them a reason to try hard. They need to still enjoy it, and they need to still have fun and have good relationships with their coaches, even if we're asking a lot of them. I think that keeping the joy and keeping them engaged is just as important as us enjoying our jobs, because at this point it is their job to be there. So I think you're going to have a better team if they are wanting to be there and happy and excited about the game that they're playing.
I don't know what happened, but I just got kicked real quick and I can't hear
Oh,
you again.
oh
So
no.
let's see if that's on my end or yours. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Mm, no way. Ugh. Freaking Wi-Fi. Uh, is yours still connected?
It should be.
All right. Well, I hate to do this, but let's try that restart again, and I'll double up the recording and edit it back together. I'm just gonna refresh real quick. Sorry, dude.
It's okay.
That's give it a go.
How we doing? Can you hear me?
No, dang it, my end. Is it my end? Go again. Go. Oh, I think I just had you. I think I fixed it. All right, so whoever's here, sorry about that. Go ahead, Lily. See if that works.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude.
That's
Uh,
okay.
I don't. It just blinked in the middle, and then I'm gonna have some fun editing that for the show.
Yeah, great. Sounds good.
For those of you that are live, apologies for that. But yeah, I think that obviously that education aspect is really important, and it's something that's overlooked quite often. But when we're tying that down, what are some ways that I mean, other than just bringing them in for the competition aspect, what are maybe some ways that you've like missed with it, and so that for the younger coaches who are just getting into using that, or some ways that you've had some high levels of success communicating what you're using and why you're using it with the kids.
Yeah. It's a little confusing for them sometimes. Like it gets tedious doing the same thing and recording the same metrics every day. And it's just, sometimes it's, you know, I don't want to say that they don't care, but it really is just a chip on their back sometimes that they're doing. And if it gets to a point where they're like, you know, I don't really see a point in this, then that's a failure on my part. So, like I said, again, like telling them we're doing this because every single day, in everything that we're doing, taking extra time to explain the aspects of my job that a lot of athletes don't understand. I think that goes a long way. And it's something that I have had to learn because, you know, coming out of college, you don't really know, you don't see it as much on the back end of things, and you don't really know what you don't know. Like, you know, you come off of being an intern and you're like, oh, I know everything, like I can do this no problem. And then you start to get athletes that like aren't as bought in, or you know, whatever the situation is, and you're like, shoot, like I don't know how to handle this. So I've learned that something that's really really important to me, and to the way that I handle all my athletes, is giving them the reason behind everything, taking that little extra amount of time. It's never like, oh, we're squatting, period. It's we're squatting because a lot of times, like getting a hooper to understand like why they're squatting to their with their butt going down to the ground, like, you know, that doesn't really translate to them like shooting more threes, but saying, hey, we're doing this for power production, we're doing this for resiliency, we're doing this for, you know, yada yada yada. Then they're like, oh, this will keep me on the court, like that makes more sense. um, and the same goes with all the data that I'm using, or you know, whatever velocity that we're using, like, hey, we're doing this bar speed because, and that goes a long way with, um, not only getting buy-in for your, like what you're trying to do with them, but the relationship side of things as well. I'm a young coach too, and I think trying to lean into that instead of hide that has been really game changing for me. Developing the relationship with the athletes as well. Like, you know, I'm only 1, 2, 3 years older than a lot of these athletes that I'm coaching, and you're not gonna get the athletes to, um, like really want to buy into your program if you're trying to be something that you're not. I think being a young coach is an advantage. I just came out of college. I know what they're going through schoolwork wise, being an athlete, you know, having to try to manage a social life and trying to sleep. Like, there's a lot of pros to being a really young coach, unless you try to be something that you're not and be that like dictator, like you're insecure that you're only a year or two older than them. So you're trying to project something that you're not. Um, so I try to be as transparent, as I can, and build relationships in a way, that really, really gets them bought into me, what I'm trying to do, and they can see that everything that I'm doing and everything that I'm programming for them comes from a place of, I want to see you be the best. I'm not here to just make your life harder. I want to see you succeed on the field, or on the court, whatever it is. You know, it comes from a place that I really care about you as a person and as an athlete. And, you know, I don't let like me being a young coach kind of, you know, play a role in the way that I handle my relationships with them.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that those of us that are older probably look back on the most is like how much more you're able to do as a younger coach. And not just like energy wise and daytime wise and lack of sleep wise, but really the 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 ability to connect differently. You know, like it's. I was joking with someone who's been in the field for like 15 or so years, and they're like, "I'm Unc now," and I'm like, "Well, then I'm Grandpa." You know, so it's like being able to go through it and learning from it is one thing, but being able to have that time, that energy, that youthful, blissful ignorance, I guess I'll call it, where you guys can just kind of go, 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 go all the time, um, is really, it's really something else. And it's really a time as a coach to be cherished, I think, because you can not just do the most, but learn the most and grow the most. And I think that this last half hour has been a really great example of that, Lily. I'm a big fan of everything you're talking about. I'm fired up to see where you continue to go and grow to. But I got to get you out of here on this one. Who does Lily want to hear from next on the podcast?
Oh, good question. I'll go with my assistant director here, Tyler Curtis. I think he's been really, really good to me and helping me answering all my questions. I think we have a really good open dialogue here in our office that has let us kind of bounce ideas off of each other, give each other support where we need it when we're having a bad day or if we're having a good day, supporting each other's teams. So I'll throw the ball in his court and I'll say Ty.
Tyler Curtis, be on the lookout, man. Some old gray haired guy is going to slide in your DMs this afternoon and see if we can set this up. Lily, fired up. Thank you so much for your time today. This was fantastic, and
Of
looking
course.
forward to catching up with you real soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Cheers.
All right, bye.